We got a video titled "Doomed to Obscurity" by Solar Sands. I feel like I've watched something from this channel before, but I'm not subscribed, so I don't know. Maybe I haven't. But either way, let's check it out. I don't know what we're in for, but I'm excited.
There is a somewhat old and amusing joke on the internet that goes something like this. The best place to hide a dead body is the second page of Google. This is meant to imply that everything
I've been on the second page of Google about 4 times. 3 times out of curiosity, 1 time because I genuinely couldn't find anything. And it wasn't on the second page.
The first page of Google is essentially never visited. There's a grain of truth to this. According to a study done by Advanced Web Rankings on click-through rates, page 1 of Google accounted for 71% of overall clicks, while page 2 gets less than 4%. What's even more is that just the first result on page 1 accounted for 31% of clicks on that page, while the rest of the links diminished in clicks dramatically. But even still, page 3 and below gets at least 1.6%.
I'm gonna visit
in order to
page
get to the
20
places that are really hardly ever visited, first we have to go to the place that is most searched on Google. On pettitube.com or astronaut.io, you can find YouTube videos, often with less than 20 or so views. Videos that are incredibly unknown. Video DSC0008 by the channel Popsis has 4 views. Video MVI0044 by the channel Opal District has 1 view. There's something deeply intriguing about clicking through these barely viewed videos. It's like looking at a clip show of randomized human experiences. There's no videos that have been catered to your tastes by recommendation algorithms, nothing pushed to the top of your feed by their popularity, just random snippets that people all across the globe found noteworthy in some way. You can find videos like someone zooming in way too much on some crabs, a video of a speeding train, a video of a hilly landscape I assume is in Bulgaria, a video of people ice skating on the other side of the world. Those are, believe it or not, some of the more interesting videos I discovered. Sometimes you can find videos that have no views, videos that no one has ever watched. You could spend the rest of your life on these websites, clicking through unknown video after unknown video. Of course, I hold a somewhat unique position because of the sheer number of people who are subscribed to this channel. Anything I talk about and any video I mention will inevitably involve people flooding to it. These unknown videos I just mentioned will suddenly become slightly more known.
And this is an older video too, so I bet they have views now.
On the YouTube channel Red Letter Media, a collection of middle-aged men make reviews of current films as well as analyzing and making fun of B-movies. Often movies that are lacking in notoriety, budget, and quality. The goal of the show Best of the Worst is to find the things that are noteworthy. Things that are funny, or sometimes even things that the filmmakers, despite their lack of budget or lack of skills, do well. One of the most amusing aspects of the show is seeing just how many movies are in their collection. The sheer number of films squeezed into the background shelves far exceeds the amount any reasonable person would own. The prolific channel posts a best of the worst video, an average of, I would guess, about once a month. And in each hour-long video, they cover at least 3 movies. At that rate, if we just take the amount of Blu-rays and DVDs that are listed in this letterbox collection, it would take Red Letter Media 29 years to go through all of them.
Wow.
But that measly 1,000 films is nothing compared to the estimated number of movies that exist. 500,000, which is probably a very lowball estimate. And another series nestled within Best of the Worst is Wheel of the Worst, where usually random DVDs, not even things people would consider movies, but old, usually independently made videos like safety guides are reviewed. It kind of blows my mind the extra dimension this adds. If there were 500,000 proper movies, imagine how many much smaller production or next to no production forgotten videos there are that exist in the world. The sheer hours of mundane somethings that teeter on the edge of nothing that are encased in this outdated technology. All that recorded human work may never see the light of day again. You could hide a dead body within these black spines. Obscure media
Oh.
is one of the more tragic forms of obscurity.
Okay, I feel
Although
like
it
this
may
just
not
got
seem
very
like
dark.
it, and especially with the movies they review on Best of the Worst, it really doesn't seem like it. Making a movie takes time, energy, and effort. It even takes effort to make something that is bad and embarrassing. The trick is putting in the rest of the work to make something not bad and embarrassing. Even if it was half-assed, people wrote scripts, planned production, hired actors, and went to locations. They created large works of art, and many of them will never be appreciated or remembered. Many won't even have the privilege of being made fun of. If Best of the Worst could be
that's saying something, bro. Imagine you don't even get the privilege of being made fun of, bro. That's hard. Like, that hurts me for you, bro. That's
considered
terrible,
a big
dog.
enough sample size, then most unknown films are probably unknown for a reason. Despite the filmmakers' efforts, they are so obviously not thought through, so unremarkable, so mind-numbingly boring, that they are doomed to being obscure. But even still, at least IMDb lists a lot of them. The internet has turned being unknown into a kind of novelty. It is the largest record of human knowledge in existence by a long shot. Even the most niche of interests can be found by someone. We're in this kind of odd situation where if there's even a mildly famous person or event that doesn't have a Wikipedia article, that's kind of shocking. The internet can propel the most unknown people and things.
Bro, OG Chase B still doesn't have a Wikipedia page. Get this man a Wikipedia page. Travis, you're back now. Get Chase B a Wikipedia page, bro. He literally, like, is Cactus Jack. It's like Travis Scott, Chase B. Like, that's Cactus Jack. Basically, why doesn't he have a Wikipedia page? Anyways.
Into notoriety at astonishing speed.
Ken
And as
Bone.
more
I was
and
about to
more
say, why do I
people
know that
post,
guy?
the more interesting question to ask is not what is on the internet, but what is not on the internet. Nerd culture.
Yep.
No, any culture is a lot easier to get into nowadays. The internet allows people to connect and bond over niche things far easier than ever before.
Pure
If
nerd
you like
culture, I
something
feel
that
like
is
it's
not well known,
internet.
all it takes is a quick search to find the few people on Earth who also like that thing. And once you're in there, there's something comfortable about being part of something small. I did a poll recently that asked if you would rather be part of a large and popular fan base or a small and unknown fan base. The replies gave me several reasons.
I feel like it depends on what exactly you're talking about. If you're talking about music, I feel like it kind of varies by artist, right? Like, I feel like JPEG Mafia's fan base is in a very good spot right now. Like, he's not entirely underground anymore. A lot of people know about him, but I feel like the true fans of him, a very tight-knit community. You know what I mean? And that's fire. Whereas with like Kanye, like, it's so hard being a Kanye fan because everybody swears they're a Kanye fan. You know what I mean? But I feel like there's like a smaller group of people, which by small I mean like probably 50,000 people, that are like real, like, diehard Kanye fans. You know what I mean? And then there's like everyone else who's just like a fan. And even, you know, outside of music, like, you know, film or games or, you know, stuff like that. I feel like it really just depends. It just depends. I don't know. Because there's certain things that you want them to get, like, massive, you know? Because you enjoy it that much and you feel like it's not something that could be ruined easily. But anything can. And summer 2009 proved that, bro. I'm a big Cardi fan. I have been since 2016, 2017. When all his songs leaked, well, no, because his songs were already leaked. When all of his leaked songs blew up on TikTok, I quickly realized how easy it is for something to get ruined just because of popularity. And that's terrible. So, like, you know, it just depends.
Explaining why they
For me
preferred small
personally.
fan bases over large ones. In the end, it basically boiled down to feeling more like you were in a tight-knit community. For people who preferred larger fan bases, it was generally about having more content. Being in a small fan
that's
base
valid too.
has its social benefits.
valid.
You tend to recognize people more often. If you make fan art, that fan art gets more attention because it's some of the only fan art, and crazy people can be easily identified and blocked out without much of a fuss. It's also more or less an inevitability that if a fan base gets large enough, conflict can easily arise. If there's something
Facts, bro. Look at FNG. Look at FNG, bro. You know what? Let's go a little bit further. Look at the Bucketeers, bro. Bucketeers versus FNG is already crazy. Because I'm sure some people that have been watching I'm Dante since 2015 that despise the newer fans. And there's probably people that are vice versa, like, oh, just because you've been watching for 6 years doesn't mean you're like better than me. It's very weird. But then also the Twitch versus YouTube FNG, that whole beef. I don't know if it's still a thing because I don't even. To be honest, I'm not a pleb, bro. I'm subbed. All right, it was 7-8 months sub. I don't know. It's probably like 9, but like 8 in a row, whatever it is. But it's very weird. But I feel like that's only become a thing because FNG's gotten so big. Like, it's massive now. It's really big. So
thing that blows up on the internet, every single time, there will be groups of dissenters who proclaim how much they dislike it. And maybe there are legitimate criticisms towards that thing.
Most of the time
However, I think anyone who has spent time on the internet knows that this criticism can become overblown, nonsensical, or downright bad faith. And something
like Fortnite, for me personally, I played the game for a while. It just got boring in 2018. And I have not played it since. I literally have not played Fortnite since maybe December 2018. No, yeah. Like November, December 2018, I haven't played since. Just because it got too weird. It got whack very easily. Now, I was in like, what? Chapter 1, Season 6, Season 7, something like that? I don't even know, bro. It just got whack. It really got whack after Season 4, but I held out for a little bit because it was still kind of fun. That's like a justified reason. Among Us, I think Among Us is cool. It's just the community got kind of weird. So I stopped playing because, like, I don't want to be associated with that. That's weird.
In some cases, people will proudly proclaim they don't know anything about the popular thing. And in response, sometimes you'll get this equally obnoxious comic thrown at you. Yep. Hating something popular for no other reason than because it's popular is at its core about rebellion. A simple, low-risk way of showing you are not conforming with the perceived majority.
Good for
in
you,
fact,
though, but
by aligning yourself against a large following of people who like something, you may find yourself entering another social group. By the very nature of going against the popular, you will likely find yourself in a smaller, tighter-knit community, which you can feel more prominent in. There's no less camaraderie in shared negativity. In fact, some research has shown that when two strangers possessed a shared, strongly held negative attitude about a third party, this predicted an increase in liking and feeling of closeness with each other. And I'm sure you've experienced that venting to your friends about something you know they will hate is a pretty easy way to start a conversation. Sometimes it can even be a door to intimacy.
Yikes, dude.
The world is filled with unknown things. Intimate things people won't really ever talk about. Things that won't occupy your mind for more than The world is filled with unknown.
This is like not that bad. This looks like something from a music video scene, at least during the day. At night, this is probably terrifying. So I'm glad they went during the day and the windows are open and everything. Right?
Things.
This is a back room. This looks like one of the back room pictures. Those terrify me. I hate back room. Not a fan of them.
Things
this looks
people
like
won't really ever talk about.
I do not like this.
Things that won't occupy your mind for more than a few seconds. Most of our lives are made up of insignificant events. Thousands of tasks and details that we won't remember fondly, but will inevitably have to go through. If you've ever visited a house whose occupants have long moved out or passed away, you can still get a hint of what they were by the arrangement of stuff that they may have left behind. The routines we go through every day often produce a physical record of our existence. If you have a more paranormal mind,
why ghosts pass through? I mean, it does make sense to kind of just go straight through. Ghosts continue to follow the routes they use when alive. The house has been built since that time. In the stairs that no longer exist or are able to go through walls, glide through walls. Interesting.
These routines can manifest themselves into spirits or ghosts, but those ghosts do have a basis in reality. If you look around a house like I've just described, you can imagine all the things, significant and insignificant, that occurred in them.
I hate how that
And if
looks.
you are cleaning it out or demolishing it, in some way you are erasing the traces of those routines, those tiny fragments of who they were, forever. There are thousands of these non-events that occur to a person on a daily basis. Things we usually don't even talk about to our nearest friends on account of how mundane they are. But those things are known by at least one person.
Yo.
You. If you really want to make something where the number of people who know about it is 0, you can use what I call the rarest Pepe method. Close eyes. Draw Pepe on paper, fold it up with the drawing on the inner side. Open eyes, put it in box, buried deep in backyard. Never been seen by man, and likely never will be. You could always substitute a Pepe for any kind of drawing, effectively making a work of art that is completely unknown, where even you, the creator, do not know what it looks like. But you still kind of know it. You still felt your hands move across the paper in certain ways.
Yeah.
You could still sense a vague idea of what it might look like. You would have to divorce yourself from the making process as much as you could, making a contraption that with the push of a button would randomly make a work of art that you could not possibly predict, all with your eyes closed as you sealed it away. Would that make it the most unknown thing? What is the most unknown thing?
Well, we don't know.
You may
It's
see
unknown.
the dilemma with this question. If I ask what is the most unknown thing and someone gives me an answer, then that thing must be, in some capacity, a little bit known.
Yeah.
So we can only approximate what the most obscure things are, and we can only list the most obscure things for a short period of time. You could always think about a rock on a planet that no one knows exists, or maybe a species of animal we haven't discovered yet. If that's the case, the most unknown thing is tied with quadrillions of other things that we can imagine might be out there. But in a sense, if you think about the idea
like
of
it's all up to
something,
imagination.
then isn't the idea of that thing kind of known? In reality, this question is impossible
That's
to
deep.
answer. In order for this
It
video
is.
to be at all interesting, we have to talk about known things to get to the most unknown of those known things. And some of the most fascinating unknown things are people. This is the first photograph of a human being, taken in 1838 by Louis Daguerre, and he became the first person to be photographed entirely by accident. The exposure time for this photo would have been around 10 minutes. As a result, any other carriages or people moving along disappeared from the scene. Because this man was
Yikes.
standing in the same place getting his shoes shined, he unknowingly became the first recognizable human being ever photographed, maybe along with bits of the shoe shiner. This man is at the very center of a great leap in human history, and we will never know who he was. There have been many memorable presidents in US history, those famous for policies, personality, or leadership. But there is also a collection of presidents who are very unremarkable. Presidents that most people probably wouldn't even recognize as a president if you showed someone on the street their portrait. People like Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, James Polk. But even among the
I used to know the entire order of every single president. And like their faces and everything. Because my grandma had like placemats with the president. And that's how I learned them. And I quickly realized that they're useless information. And because of that, like I know what number we're up to, but I don't remember like any of their names because none of them did anything. Like literally, there's about a good 10, maybe 12 that are like very, you know, like they did something. Everyone else is kind of just there, in my opinion.
unknown, there are those who are more memorable. Rutherford B. Hayes and Martin Van Buren have distinct names.
Yeah.
James A. Garfield was assassinated 4 months into his presidency. William Henry
I didn't even know
Harrison
that.
had the shortest presidency in history, after giving the longest inaugural address ever on a cold, wet winter day.
Oh.
The myth being this led directly to him dying of pneumonia, but a recent medical review says this is unlikely and he probably died from typhoid fever. This article makes an alright argument for Benjamin Harrison and John Tyler being the most unremarkable presidents. with Benjamin Harrison perhaps winning out because of his unsubstantial record as president and the fact that there is still a living grandson of John Tyler. But according to a poll done by YouGov, Chester A. Arthur is America's most forgotten president, being completely unknown to more than 1 in 4 Americans. And his status as being unknown will probably not get any better as time marches forward.
Probably not.
But the amount of information we have on the forgettable US presidents easily trumps the information we have on Roman emperors. But still, most people will recognize names like Marcus Aurelius, Augustus, Commodus, but most won't recognize Silvanacus, whose existence is evidenced by just 2 silver coins. Evidence from one of the coin's tail sides suggests Silvanacus reigned during an obscure year in Roman history, 253 AD, a date which very few reliable sources cover. It is possible he was a usurper, or he could have briefly gained control during the conflict between Aemilian and Valerian, and minted some coins during a reign that must have not been longer than a few days. Whatever the case, history has nearly completely forgotten about this insignificant figure. We have absolutely no further idea about his life.
That's so
In fact,
wild.
we know considerably more about those random citizens who died at Pompeii. For some time, there had been an assumption that the casts of the people who died were made up of the physically weak, women, the very young, and the very old, people who would not be fast runners. In reality, the casts contain a random sampling of society. Slaves and masters died together. The people who were buried at Pompeii were made up of the known and unknown alike. But today, they are probably known worldwide more than a decent chunk of Roman emperors. These frozen bodies in agony strike an immediate, sympathetic, emotional chord, far stronger than the faraway legacies of long-dead rulers. In archaeology, sometimes random people from the past will become famous vessels of information. But eventually, these casts too will disintegrate. Eventually, the first photograph of a person will fade away. History will make us all unknown. If your descendants procreate long enough, eventually they will forget your name. They will forget basically everything about you. The internet, I believe, will put a slight damper on how quickly you'll be forgotten. Everyone who uses social media to a moderate amount has a substantial and seemingly permanent record of their existence. Chris Chan has often been called the most documented person in history. This is because he is an incredibly unusual character, and because of his involvement with the internet, we have stacks upon stacks of records of nearly every stupid and mundane thing he has ever done or said. Indeed, there is a reason many have dubbed this period the Information Age. However, even if the internet manages to remain perfectly intact the way it is now for thousands of years, which I doubt, doesn't mean anything if your account exists, but nobody visits it again. If no one thinks about you again. They say you die twice. Once when you stop breathing, and the second a bit later on, when somebody says your name for the last time. This quote has been attributed to Banksy many times, but it's probably an idea that has existed for thousands of years. There are many reasons to be afraid of death. One uniquely disturbing one is the thought that even the memory of who you are will die. That one day in the future, you will become completely unknown to any living soul. Some have tried to avoid this by providing evidence of their existence through monuments, but some lucky few don't have to be so grandiose. In Argentina, you can find Cueva de las Manos, which contains a cave wall of hundreds of handprints that dates 9,000 to 13,000 years ago. It is an eerily direct piece of communication, as if these ancient people are reaching out over thousands of years to say, I was human, and I was here. We may never know the true intentions of these handprints.
That is crazy.
Some findings suggest they were made for religious or ceremonial purposes. Perhaps also, they were made to fulfill the innate desire to be remembered. We will never know who these people were, never to any degree we would find meaningful. They had no writing system, no way to tell us about their lives in detail, and yet we know for a fact that they lived very detailed lives. They went through routines, just like you and me. experience thousands of significant and insignificant events alike, and all of that is completely and utterly lost. But the idea of who they were is well known worldwide. Far more people know
This is my
these
first time hearing about this
handprints
thing.
than the creators would have
Cool.
ever dreamed of. And if I were to guess what they were like, if I pretended for a brief moment I knew them, I would guess they were very similar to us. And if we manage to leave even a trace of our existence, the people of the future may look back and think we were very similar to them.
This is deep, bro. I ain't even gonna lie. Is that it? Pretty much. Fan art of the month. Sick! Aphex Twin? One. No cares. Bro, I was watching Kenny Beat stream earlier, and we were talking about Aphex Twin. Like, all stream, except for when, you know, we was talking about outsider music. But, bro, this was very deep. I kind of thought it would be something like that, and it was definitely had to sub. That was a cool video. Kind of, you know, thinking very deeply right now, but I still enjoyed that a lot, and so I'm gonna be checking out more videos from bro. This is kind of an older videos from November, but still, I like that, bro.